Matthew. Genealogy of Jesus Christ. Chapter 1 verse 1. This is the genealogy of Jesus Christ, son of David, son of Abraham. Verse 2. Abraham had sons, Isaac. Isaac has a son Jacob. Jacob had a son, Judah, and his brothers. Verse 3. Judah had a son, Perez, and Zerah, from Tamar. Perez has a son, Hezron. Hezron had a son, Ram. Verse 4. Ram has children, Aminadab. Aminadab has a son, challenged. Nahshon has a son, Salmon. Verse 5. Salmon have cubs, good, from Rahab. Boaz has a son, lunch, from Ruth. Obed has a son, Uzziah. Verse 6. Jesse had sons, David. David has a son Solomon, from Uriah's widow. Verse 7. Solomon had a son, Rehoboam. Rehoboam had a son, barely. Abi has a child as. Verse 8. Asa had children, Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat had a son, Jehoram. Joram has a son, Salmon. Verse 9. Uzziah had a son, Jotham. Jotham had a son, Snake. Ahaz has a son, Hezekiah. Verse 10. Hezekiah had a son, Manasseh. Manasseh had children Ammon. Ammon has a son, Josiah. Verse 11. Josiah had a son, Jehoniah, and his brothers, when the children of Israel were exiled to Babylon. Verse 12. Jeconiah had a son, Seals, after the Babylonian exile. Shealtiel has a child, Zerubbabel. Verse 13. Zerubbabel had a son, Abihud. Abihud has a son, Eliakim. Eliakim has a son, Azors. Verse 14. Azor had children, As. Zadok has a son, Achim. Achim has a son, Eliad. Verse 15. Eliad had sons, Eleazar. Eleazar had a son, the women. Matan has a child Jacob. Verse 16. Jacob had a son, Joseph, namely Miriam's husband. From Mary Jesus was born, the Messiah. Verse 17. So, from the prophet Abraham to the prophet David, there are 14 generations. From David to the Babylonian captivity there were also 14 generations. Likewise, from the Babylonian exile to the Messiah there were 14 generations. Birth of Jesus Christ. Chapter 1 verse 18. This is the history of the birth of Isa al-Masih. When Maryam her mother, still engaged to Yusuf. It turned out that Maryam was pregnant because of the power of Allah's Spirit, even though Maryam and Yusuf had not had sexual intercourse as husband and wife. Verse 19. Because of Joseph, his fiancé, is a pious and moral person and does not intend to embarrass Maryam, then he intended to break off his relationship with Maryam secretly. Verse 20. But, while he thought about it, an angel of God appeared to him in a dream. The angel said, "Hi Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to accept Maryam as your wife because the child in her womb comes from the Spirit of Allah." Verse 21. She will give birth to a son and you must name him Jesus because he will save his people from their sins. Verse 22. All this happened so that the word that God spoke through his prophet would be fulfilled. Verse 23. Look, a virgin virgin will conceive and give birth to a boy. People will call him Emmanuel, which mean, God is with us. Verse 24. Joseph awoke from his sleep, then he did what the angel of the Lord commanded. He accepted Miriam as his wife. Verse 25. Even so, he still did not have a husband and wife relationship with her until Miriam gave birth. Then, after the child is born, Joseph named him Jesus.